Hello. Hi. Daniel here, and welcome to the second ever CharismaToAC presents Mask the New Generation GM session. So, don't we have a lot to talk about? Last session was so good. Um, okay, so what we do in this show, if you're new to the show and you haven't clicked any of these episodes before, these GM session things, what this is basically me doing the work I do as a game master, and like putting that on camera and like giving us the opportunity to like share in the preparation that goes into the masks episodes. So that's what this is. We did one last week after the first session, and we'll be doing one now. Now, what we'll be doing is we'll of course be talking about like what happened and what happened differently from what we had prepared, and we'll be talking about like as we did last time. I mentioned stuff that I regret about the episode. I will do that this time too, and then we'll talk about like what we will create and how we will expand on what was made and how that will lead into the next session, because something definitely happened. Let's be honest, in session two. So let's start. Let's start out by talking about the important stuff that happened in session two. So so the obvious place to start is of course the ending of that episode and what that will lead into come session three. Um, as I mentioned in the first episode, I want the first. I thought two or three, but now I'm thinking maybe three or four. You know, who knows? Sessions to like tie together as a episodic beginning of the show, if you will. Um, and yeah, last session had a lot of good stuff going for it. We presented the first ever look at the Genesis Nemesis character, not Nemesis strictly speaking, but the reporter, Susan Ramirez. We got the first look at her, harassing essentially our young heroes from the way too omnipresent jumbotrons positioned all over Halcyon City. Um, and of course now, just so we're clear on this, the reason that she has such a wide, um, such a well covering platform to reach out to the people and of Halcyon City is exclusively because she is messing with one of the player characters, right? That is what makes her important. Um, she gets the J. Jonah Jameson presence because of her relationship to a player character. Um, but yeah, so we got the chance to see that. We introduced an NPC from the Exemplars who I called Whisper. The reason I introduced that NPC was because I wanted to give them an in with like a different group of people. I essentially wanted to set up Whisper as a potential hook for the future, and like basically cast a reflection of a group like the Exemplars against a group like theirs, right? Like the player characters. The player characters are the rough and tumble underdog superhero group, whereas the Exemplars is like the well-established like icons of the city. They are the apprentices, the former sidekicks of like greater heroes. The Exemplars are like still contains some of the most powerful active superheroes. They're essentially like they're one of the great superhero teams of Halcyon City, established during the Silver Generation. So doing that is like exclusively to compound the effect of casting shade on calling them out as being like rogue vigilantes, right? It's like basically throwing the spotlight on the fact that the entire city knows and respects superheroes, but that's not the same as you guys occupying that same category. Now, how do you feel about that, right? Like, does this make you angry? Does it make you frustrated? Do you want to strive for public appeal? Or are you going to do, like, or are you going to ignore the notion of public appeal and do what you think is like right, even if it falls outside of that scope? So this is me trying to set something up for that in the future. Now, what I could not have expected was that it would probably get as involved as it does, as it's going to, by the end of the second session. I mean, I would be remiss not to bring Whisper forward and like have her engage with Vigil and potentially with the others as part of the opening scene of the next session, which is spoilers is probably gonna feature the Exemplars and Aegis. So what? But before we get on to that, after the events that transpired, with presenting Whisper and the Susan Ramirez, we got a bit of an angle on the school, right, that we need to think about because Vigil messed up and like basically almost got himself and Starlight outed as supers, right? No one knows that it is them because that's what we established fictionally, or at least someone might, right? We had the awkward lingering shot on like a couple of the students, like looking over their sunglasses at down the hall when he whizzed by using super speed. But the more involved part of that is that we're going to start like this looking for rogue supers in the Halcyon High. Is a thing I kind of want, right? So it's not. Remember that this universe is dissimilar from a universe like what's a good comparison? It's dissimilar from stuff like Ultimate Spider-Man, in which, you know, like the public knows in that show and in that universe, like the heroes exist and that supers are a thing, but it's generally like people are still tentatively bouncing on the fence if like is this a thing we kind of accept, who even are these people and so on, right? Whereas Halcyon City is a bit in the more forward stages of that, right? It's had more time to process it. So the fact that there are supers in Halcyon High is not going to be like a witch hunt thing. What with people being like, oh, are there supers? We can't really rightly have that now, can we? Like, we don't want these freaks walking among us. It could certainly turn into that, but that would be as the result of someone fucking up, like, significantly in the future. But what this is probably going to be is I'm going to use this as a kind of hammer that I can like strike at the I can strike at the secret identities of the characters with. I will create an environment in what scenes we see for them in the school where they will feel like someone is taking a keen interest in who are the supers in Halcyon High. There's probably going to be like a lot of attention put onto that, right? It's going to be a thing that the students are like thinking about and whispering about and talking about, and everyone's kind of on the lookout, and like rumors abound of this person or that person being this or that superhero, which was probably something that already existed, but because of the failure of last session, it is now going to at least like catch fire and like grow in scope to a point that it will interfere, hopefully, interfere with the characters and make them like question what they are doing and throw some provocation at them. So yeah, that's the thing we want. Finally, in the session, they had a run-in with another supervillain that we created. We created Claymore. Claymore is a superhero name that I thought up when I decided I was gonna run masks. I had no idea like what I was gonna do with it, really. Like, I had a vague idea. The only thing I knew I knew that I was gonna make the name Claymore. but I was and I had the idea that it was gonna be some kind of liquid metal nonsense. For a moment there, I was almost like tempted to pull away from that idea and to like turn him into a guy that does bomb stuff, just because Rasmus commented that oh, his name is Claymore, we're probably going to see more explosions, and I was immediately taken with the idea, but because I had already like I felt like in my mind I had too clear of an image of what the guy was that I couldn't rightly and quickly enough adjust to a different idea, and so I left that by the wayside. But I'm going to like think on that in the future, because I like the ideas I got when he said that. I just didn't really formalize them well enough to make them a character on screen immediately. I'm going to open some stuff up here. Let's get into the screen, shall we? Let's start working with what we have down here. So let's get to the journal. Let's look at the villains we got going. So I've been sorting these between last session and now. You'll probably recognize that I have now created a supervillains category, which is, well, what you expect, right? It's super villains, and then I have super criminals, which I can just now tell that I have categorized Claymore as a super criminal instead of a super villain. This is intentional. I just mucked up what I was saying before. So this is basically because in the game's terminology, super criminals are supers who do crime, right? They go a crime. They are out there taking your money and like driving criminal underworld and so on. But that's what they do. Whereas super villains are like the extremely bad news characters, right? They are the ones who want to destroy, to conquer. They are the ones who will the alien Starfleet, led by whatever the Star Conqueror, that arrives to enslave planet Earth, is a supervillain, whereas dude robbing banks, although he is superpowered, Scorpion from Spider-Man, like those dudes are super criminals. So that's what we're looking at here in terms of differentiation. And yeah, if we look at Claymore from last session, I know this my fucking bad joke calling him Clayton Moore, but look, don't judge me. You don't get to judge me. I see you out there beyond the internet, snickering at me, or like these face palming loud enough that it's creating waves of thunder outside my window. No, you don't get to judge me. Okay, the supervillain names based on idiotically easily compared, like on like resonating real life names. No, this is a staple of comic books. So shush you. So yeah, this guy was robbing a bank. He was stealing a MacGuffin. I have not decided the name of the MacGuffin. We are gonna do that now. I know what I want it to be. I wanted to relate to the events that we set up in the first session. So I've got an idea now for the like sequence of events. What is actually happening right now in this chain of events is Eternity, who attacked in the first session, was and who was powered by the crystals that we established that the superhero team had accidentally not maybe created, but was a result or a leftover of their initial battle with Morgan the Sorcerer. Those crystals are used to superpower time nonsense, which is I think we established that in the first session. Now, the character Soren the Shamed, who is the enemy of the Vigil, is the character we have not been seeing, like, who hasn't been presented to us, but who has been alluded to in the shot of the boots like arriving on the rooftop and someone been like looking down over the remnants of the first crystal that was destroyed when Eternity was defeated, and then who walked through the gas cloud in the end of the second session and picked up the briefcase that was stolen from the bank. That is that guy, who we will be officially putting on camera in the future. Hopefully next session. I said hopefully second session last time, but I didn't get to it. This is a thing that I mentioned about like regrets. One of my primary regrets, I guess, I kick myself for it all the time. Although I know it's not a big deal per se, right? If my players are having fun, then at least that's good, right? Then I'm not doing it wrong. But one of the things I kick myself for is time management. I have a hard time still adjusting to running the game format from, like, we're just a couple of dudes sitting around a table playing, and instead trying to like create a format that is also intended to be dramatically like follow a time frame that is also entertaining to you guys, because I'm creating episodic content, and I'm consciously aware of this, and I know you may or may not agree that this is a requisite at all. I don't feel like it's required. I feel like the lot of you who are watching these videos and who are getting a lot of enjoyment from enjoying the content on the channel, I am very grateful to you, by the way, for that. It's always fun and always nice to know. But although I'm sure some of you don't agree that this is necessary, I just want to try to do it because I feel like I should be able to. Right, so this is like a personal challenge for me as much as it is like a thing I sometimes minutely regret. Anyway, just as a side note, because I said I was going to mention regrets from last session. So, Soren the Shamed, we're going to feature that character. He deliberately sent Claymore to steal something from out that bank. Now, he didn't want to get involved himself because he knows the moment he steps on the moment he appears on the radar, the Vigil is going to come for him. Therefore, send someone else to do your dirty work, hence Claymore. Good. Unfortunately for our beloved heroes, but maybe fortunate for the suspense of what's going to happen, they did not get hold of the briefcase, nor did they take the time to delve into why was this being taken. But we will have the chance to unveil some of that as exposition in the following session. Now we just need to establish what exactly this thing is. I was thinking that it is a piece of super tech. I was thinking it is a piece of super tech stored in the bank because of the brainiac who created it recognized that it is dangerous, or recognized that it was someone wanted to steal it, and so he got it out of his lab. But as supervillains do, they have their ways. They find out it was found out where he kept it, and so a heist was staged to relieve the bank of that object. And that piece of super tech, I want to say, is something that will interact it will interact with the crystals, right? It's kind of like imagine that Soren gave Eternity the first crystal we saw to field test how that interacted with the tech that Eternity uses for his stasis rifle. But this piece of super tech is something that is like related to that, right? So after that field test, it was like, oh, I see. In that case, this other piece of tech that I know about and that I am aware of, that exists in this bank, is totally what I need to go for, because that's like, that operates on the same quantothosian wavelength and has the same fuck me, I don't know, right? The techno babble first season Star Trek nonsense talk. We're gonna what's the quanto, I don't know. We'll figure something out. I will find a word for that. Actually, what am I talking about? Let's find a word for it right now. We can do that. let's see. We'll go to Soren and we'll add that as a note for him. We're gonna say it's the object is called the wave splicer. It is a sure. Let's go with quantum, because quantum is one of those words that I'm not sure I have ever used correctly. I'm not sure I'm aware of what exactly it implies, but I know it sounds techy, and I think a lot of people I play with think that too. So let's say the quantum, the quanto-electric wavelength amplifier, whatever. Sure. That's totally what that is. And what this is, I should add in parentheses before I open this thing up in the future and confuse myself enormously, is that the function this thing serves is that it basically it concentrates and empowers the thing. Like it's basically like it's a thing you put the crystal into, and the crystal that already empowers time nonsense is now more focused, right? So that's what it does. It I guess it splices the timey-wimey stuff from potential other times and the timey-wimey stuff of our time, and that is why it's the wavelength splicer. It's because it like makes the waves overlap, and then you can do horrific time nonsense. So that's what that is. So let's say makes focuses the energies of the crystals, making focused time nonsense possible. Let's not call it time nonsense. Let's call it time badness. It makes sense in the world, right? Because comic books. Time badness possible. Boop. Good. There we go. So this was stolen now it is in possession of the bad guy. I did mention because I want there to be a correlation between what Soren is doing right now and Black Raven, because I don't want to like. One might be tempted to keep Black Raven away from the show, and like keep them as this nebulous, spooky overtones, dark shadow cast from above. But I don't feel like that flies. Mostly because it's a character that's so central to one of the other characters. I recognize now, as I'm sitting here talking about it, that I have inadvertently like roped myself into talking about like detailed stuff about the characters and the future of the show, and haven't actually finished talking about what happened last time. I'm sorry for that. I distracted myself. I don't know. This is new to me too. I'm not used to doing stream of consciousness things. But okay, so just to wrap up what happened last time, and then we can return to what we're like the direction we were going. Of course, as the superheroes engaged with Claymore, who was stealing the time nonsense device splicer, the quantum I don't know, that thing we just named that I forgot immediately. That thing, as he was stealing that from out the bank, the heroic heroes, the defenders as they've called themselves, engaged him, prevented civilian casualties, prevented great damage to property. Okay, so they created some damage to property, but they prevented the bank from being further exploded, if that was going to be a thing. And they stopped the robbers from escaping, knocked them down, stopped their vehicle. All was good. And then, as Claymore was making a run for it, and they gave chase, unfortunately, Starlight lost control of her powers. Now, I realize and I recognize, like, having rewatched the session, which was the thing I did, I recognize some of you might be sitting out there considering, should I play Masks? What, like, is this a game for me? What is up with how, trying to get a feel for the game by watching us play it, or maybe you already have a feel for the game, and you saw what happened on screen and was like, whoa, this is way too much, right? Because I had, like, for a moment, I had that feeling myself, where I was like, whoa, Starlight, like, losing control of their powers is not just someone being put in, like, a position of danger, or something extraordinarily useful being destroyed or whatever. Like, Starlight going Nova is, like, extremely dangerous and out of proportion thing. Is this really how the game is intended to work, or is this really what it means to be the Nova, or this is not how I want it, like how I imagine the Nova goes, and I don't think you're doing it right? Right? Like, I recognize that people have different opinions or might have different impressions. Now, the reason I'm doing this with Starlight, because as I said, I like, in my opinion, Nova losing control of their powers could just as easily be a smaller thing, a more focused, like, element of destruction than just, like, a growing vortex of like badness that erases the world slowly as it expands. It could just as easily be that. The reason I did this was because I wanted to honor what AJ had said and established about Starlight. We had established from character creation that Starlight exploded a mall, essentially, tore down a mall when she lost control of her powers at the age of 4, and AJ had like made a point of saying, when things go bad, like, this could go horribly wrong for Halcyon City. And I want to respect that in the fiction, right? This is a thing that's true of a character. So consequently, when Starlight loses control of their powers, things can go really, really wrong very, very quickly. And that is what we elected to show this time. And now this will have ramification in the setting, but that's fine because we established that as part of the character fiction. So, because of this, next session, I imagine, and I think I'm pretty set on starting the session with the characters in Iga's custody. Not in the sense that I now want to beat them over the head with, like, you did it wrong, bad players, because who wants that? That's not fun. But I want to have, like, a moment to show, I want to have a moment to show the response to this kind of event, right? I want to show off the fact that the city is aware that this is a thing that can happen, and that the agency, Aegis, like, has done stuff like this before, right? They're not strangers to someone with Starlight's level of power, like some kind of, what we'll call it, like maybe an alpha level event or something like that, like a potential alpha level event, could occur in their city at any time. Is not something they are not aware of and know how to deal with. And I also want to get a chance to cast some light from the other heroes of the city, at least some of them, on that event, and be like, oh, I see you defenders, I think that's what you call yourselves. I see you mingle with a very powerful person right here, and we need to talk about that. Is a thing I want to do. So I guess in order to do that, in order to prepare for that, we should make up a few characters. We'll do that once we have finished our train of thought from before, which is what is actually going to happen, what is this chain of events. And we were just talking about taking the piece of super tech from the bank to use with the time crystals. Now, how did Soren the Shamed get the time crystals? Because we established that after the defeat of Morrigan, the crystals were left over, and I imagine that the crystals, as well as the dragon seal that they used to create them, they used to stop Morrigan. I say, is it Morrigan? It is Morrigan. I think it's Morrigan. Yeah, and that they used for that is it says so right there. is of course have been taken back by the Vigil, and is kept under lock and key by the Vigil. So it amuses me that we can use Soren for this, because obviously what happened is Soren engaged maybe another super criminal, maybe like a super cat burglar that we could establish, like someone like if you've watched Batman Beyond, there's a cat burglar character who's made of ink, I think. So she can like goop into places, like something in that with that idea, right? Someone who can use their superpowers to break into places and steal stuff. So let's create such a character. Soren used such a character and his knowledge of the compound in Halcyon City, to break in and to steal away these crystals, because he was made aware of their existence, because he kept an ear to the ground as the first battle occurred. Maybe he was made aware of it by Black Raven. That is even better. Like Black Raven, in their super psychic awareness, was able to feel the time power compress into the form of crystals. And now Black Raven as an entity is curious about this, and they informed, either secretly or directly informed Soren the shame of this, and so now he wants to get his grubby mitts on those, and he hired someone to do it. Now he has control of a lot of the crystals, if not all of the crystals. Maybe like a large batch of it. Maybe like a large batch of it was kept in one particular place in the Vigil headquarters, and that was stolen from there, and the Vigil is not aware of it. Like, they don't know that someone broke in and took it, and we'll have that maybe as like a thing they find out. Yeah. So let's create a character for that. Let's create a super cat burglar. What do we call someone like that? What is a good, like, on the nose, I'm stealing your stuff name? What is that? I mean, cat burglar sounds like a gold generation villain, right? It sounds too on the nose. I almost want to say, like, it's not gonna be somewhat like the supervillain climbing in your windows. But we need something. Maybe we create a name based on their superpowers. Maybe we create the character first and worry about the name second. Let's take the villain template. Yeah, we'll use that. We'll find out. I'm sure we'll figure a name based on what we come up with for the set here. So a cat burglar character. That character. The obvious answer to this is that character wants to get paid. It could also be like a thrill ride thing, right? That the character is a daredevil, not the daredevil, but a daredevil, like looking for adrenaline rushes and like breaking the law and challenging themselves to break into new places, like a kind of big game hunter of heists, of break-ins. Which I think actually is more fun, right? It's someone who takes yeah, let's do that. Wants to challenge themselves. To prove that they can break in anywhere. That's good, because that drive can, if the character remains that way and with the same drive, could potentially like escalate in the future, right? So we have a drive that lends itself to evolving. So what we introduce as a kind of competent super cat burglar might in the future tie into stuff like the jailbreak scene that I talked about in the first session that I maybe wanted to do. Like maybe we have a supervillain jailbreak at one point. That could be this character escalating if nothing's done about it. Again, we don't make too rigid plans, because player characters be player charactering, and we play to find out. Alright, so right now I don't want this character to be particularly like have a lot of conditions. I don't rank it as a high level threat. I rank it as a 2 or a 1. Let's rank it as a. What do you think, guys? I say, let's make her a 2. Then no, let's make her a 1. Screw it, right? Let's make it a 1. What could possibly go wrong? And the one thing that we want to, if a condition happens to this cat burglar character, what is the one thing we want to show them responding? I don't have that clear of a mental image yet. Maybe we make their powers first. We make the suite of powers, then we'll worry about this. So, what is a useful power to tie into super burglary? One would be mind control, but I don't feel like that's the angle. Invisibility is an obvious one. Becoming intangible is also good. I think intangible is good. Maybe the character can turn into mist, and that's the name, Mist. Yeah, let's go with that, Mist. And the character's real name is Misty. Don't. We talked about this. The character's real name is Misty. Misty what? Let's worry about the last name later. I'm sure something incredible will pop up. So the character's name is Mist. So it's a lady. Let's say it's a lady. Misty, when she screws up, she becomes afraid. That's a good one, because that means that the instinct there, if they get an condition inflicted on them, their reaction is to run away, which totally plays into the theme of a burglar character. So yeah, let's do it. So away with all of these. Boop. So now we have a character whose primary condition, should they get one affected, is be afraid and then react appropriately. Their ability is to turn into mist. The move is what moves do you have when you turn into mist? You have the move. She has the move. Break into some place secure. She has the move. She has the move. Become intangible to avoid an oncoming blow. Become mist to avoid an oncoming blow. To avoid danger is better. What's an obvious third move for such a character? Maybe something not related to their powers. What's their drive again? To prove that they can break in anywhere. Appeal to sportsmanship? It's maybe something they would do. Let's go with that for now. We can change it later, but let's go with that for now. Misty. Misty Weathers. I don't know. Let's go with Weathers. Misty Weathers. Their super villain, super criminal getup is what? It's cat burglary, so it's gonna be some kind of leotard, right? It's maybe it's gray. It's of course it's comprised mainly of grays and whites. Gray and white body glove. Let's go with that. What is the character underneath? The character is I don't know. Let's say what have we? What is the? Yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. Let's say the character is let's say they're a teen. I kept like juggling in my head like how old is this person? I don't know. Let's say they're a teen. Let's put them in like let's put them in an age group that's relatable to the player characters. That's fun. We can do like a black cat thing with them perhaps of being like I'm relatable and I find you interesting and maybe I'm not a villain you want to fight. Maybe I'm a villain you want to let go because I don't want to destroy the city. Yeah, we can go with the black cat angle. Not necessarily romantic, but hey, who knows? Play to find out. Teen? Let's say 17? Yeah, works good. African American? Anything else? So I imagine like a full face mask, but if they unmask her, just so I'm aware in my mind that this character is African American. Yeah, we don't need anything else. I think not for now. Nothing more important. All right, cool. We got Mist. We got a character. We got a cat burglar. We can drop as a super criminal. And I just realized that I have not named the character in here. Let's fix that. Mist. Alright, so Soren hires Mist. Mist steals the crystals, passes them on to Soren. Soren field tests the crystals by approaching Eternity, finds out that the technology interacts with the crystals in an intended way, orders Claymore to break into the bank to steal this technology that he's aware is there because he's Soren the Shamed and he has the supervillain awareness of potential MacGuffins. All supervillains have to detect MacGuffin in a 2-mile radius, as an aura. And he does that. Claymore is to bring it to him. Claymore fails to do so, but in the end, Soren still gets a hold of the object. So now he can focus the power of the crystals that he can then use to attempt a shot at his drive, which is change the status quo and wants to use power at their disposal. Yes, and we established that the thing he wants to do is he wants to use the power of the vigil that is not allowed for him to use. Right, he wanted to initially use their whatever hold the vigil has on Titanius that prevents Titanius from entering the real world and wreaking havoc. He wants to use that aggressively, and I think since we haven't seen him, maybe let's see. What did we give him for moves? Offer someone something they want. Strike with someone with weapons of darkness. I kind of want to take back the strike at someone with weapons of darkness thing, because I just in my mind I thought, wouldn't it be cool or dramatic if the Vigil had stripped him of his power and he was unable to use the weapons of the Vigil. He was unable to use whatever that is, right? The shards of Excalibur or something. Whatever their bracers are. He was unable to use that. So he's using something else. But then maybe in the future, or as part of an oncoming plot or something, maybe he gets his hands on the Vigil's power again, right? Maybe he gets his hands on his old weapons. And when he does, he becomes like really incredibly dangerous. Not that he isn't already, but it could be like that dramatic, now I am armed with my old weapons, and now I will be an incredible badass, and you will all have a stonkingly hard time defeating me before you inevitably save the day. Like, that seems like a dramatically appropriate thing we could do. So let's take away Weapons of Darkness. That will be a consequence of him getting his tools back. So instead he has this move. He has... what will be his weapon instead? I ask this question because we need to figure it out now, because we can't keep him in the shadows much longer. And we don't want to. So, as he was aware of this super tech, maybe he's technologically inclined. Maybe he is... actually, what he definitely is we give him a move based solely on the fact that he kicks ass in like physical combat. So we give him a villain move that is what's the character, like Shade, not Shade, Slade from Teen Titans, right? Whose primary factor is he kicks ass, even though he gets defeated by the Teen Titans regularly. He is a formidable foe in just like legit close combat. So maybe he has a move that is lay someone low with not lay some. We need something more direct. Do we have sample villain moves in the handouts maybe? Yeah, we do. Okay. Summon robotic minions, open a gate to another dimension, create a weapon or bomb. Explain their true purpose. That's good. Implicate or tarnish heroes. Steal away something valuable. Reveal the nature of a trap. Reveal the nature of a trap could be really good. That would be really good. Something like that. No, actually, I think we stick to our guts in this case, and we give him a move that is like display incredible. So no, not display it, because nothing happens. So it's actually just like lay someone low. Lay someone low with pure martial prowess. Right, this is and this, everyone could potentially do this. Everyone can throw a punch, but this guy having it for a move says something about like him being extremely adept at it, right? Like it is. This is the kind of guy who would jujitsu the Hulk, right? Because he has this for a move. The Hulk would then inevitably like throw him down and stomp on him, and then scream Hulk smash, and every window in a 1,000-mile radius would shatter. But the point is that because he has this for a move, it's like very significant that he is like a master of close combat. Do we want another move for him? While we're at it, we didn't think of a third one last time. We can think of one now, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Nope. I don't know, so let's just leave it at that. Alright, so we've set all this up. Now the question is, what does it lead into? What it leads into is he gets the crystals, he tests the crystals, he gets technology that can amplify the crystals. He does all of this because Black Raven planned it. Black Raven wants what? And Soren wants what? Soren wants to use the time nonsense crystals. He wants to use the... This entire thing is a diversion. The entire thing is a diversion. He's using the crystals He wants to use the crystals. The time focus here. Okay, here it is. He wants to create a rift in space-time so that the Vigil will have to respond to it. And as the Vigil responds to it, he is going to break into Vigil headquarters and attempt to steal back, and attempt to like wreak havoc in there, like take the thing that he was barred from doing. He wants to go in there and steal the power of the lake. Yeah, that's what he wants. So that's what's gonna happen in the future. Let's actually, I need to. We didn't do this last time. We now that we're getting ideas, we should start taking notes. This is what the game, I think, describes as an arc. Although I am not sure that this is. Maybe this is long term enough to be an arc. I don't know. We're halfway through the arc, if that's the case. Let's do ourselves the favor and just take notes for now. And then in the future, I will definitely look at creating an arc for this particular purpose. But for now, we'll do this as a note to myself about the future. Okay, so chain of events. Black Raven informs Soren that Morrigan's crystals hold power over time and are in the Vigil's custody. Soren hires Mist to break in and steal them. Hands one to Eternity for field testing. Hires Claymore to break into the bank that we should maybe we'll come up that we give it a name. I don't know. Right now it's just the bank. Into the bank to steal. What was it called? Where you at, Soren? The Wave Splicer. Okay, to steal the Wave Splicer. And bring it to him. He will then use it to he will use the Wave Splicer and the crystals he will use Eternity's lab to do so. Right, he will. Yes, he will. So Eternity has like time stuff going on. He has like a tech lab for that sort of stuff. And now that Eternity is in custody, he will totally just break in and like use his stuff. He will then use Eternity's lab to make the crystals open a rift in space-time. Boom. Or maybe like a gate. He will make let's not be so it's a rift in space-time, but what it actually is open a gate to disgorge baddies is what it is. That is the purpose of it. And doing this will summon the Vigil, who are all about preventing this sort of shit. To summon the Vigil away from their headquarters. There we go. Right, because even the modern Vigil members want to go out there and be heroes and help people, but the traditionally minded, spearheaded by Elder Kimball, wants them to stay behind and to keep guard and keep watch over the important Vigil stuff. But this is important Vigil stuff, so they will respond to it, and so will the heroes, of course, leaving the place largely undefended, except for whatever security measures they have in place which Soren is already familiar with. He will then enter the Vigil HQ, and he will do something in here that is important. And it is important to Black Raven too, because Black Raven, being the stonkingly frightening Nemesis character, of course, flawlessly predicted the chain of events. So, something happens in here if Soren gets his way that is also beneficial to Black Raven. Now, as we as Rasmus has established, Black Raven is also empowered by stuff like suffering and badness, right? It is like this. It's an evil sponge, but that's like saying that he will do something that is bad and therefore it will help Black Raven. It's kind of like too nebulous and not satisfying enough. So we need something that will like where we can just immediately grasp on and be like, oh, because of course Black Raven. Like something that would make sense that Black Raven was. Maybe he wants to hurt the lake, right? Because the lake is this mystical font being used for goodness. So maybe he wants to hurt the local lake, and that will essentially disempower one of the local forces of good, which would mean that like that would be a tangible enough thing for like Black Raven to be about, right? You'd be like, that has hurt one of the forces of good, which means Black Raven can act more freely and is more powerful because of it. Oh god, maybe... Hold on. What if Soren wants to take the power of the lake, and in doing so, the lake is still functions as like this channel for other entities, and maybe what Raven then wants to do is to take that like lake for themselves. So we will have a situation where the heroes have to confront Soren the Shamed, who may now have who may be about to steal the power of the lake, and like absorb it for himself. They may stop him in time, I guess, which would mean that we would then like we would use a reveal of some kind to show Black Raven's involvement. But if they don't manage to stop him on time for some reason, like for example rolling enough sixes, then he will absorb the power, and they will have like it would be like an enormously difficult fight against him. But if and when they win that, then there will also be the matter of, and as they look at the river, or not at the river, as they look on the lake, there may be a silhouette of a Black Raven on it, and now they have to like, and now the lake then rises as an evil water elemental, and they have to defeat it to banish an aspect of Black Raven from it, clearing it again and being making it the home of the Lady of the Lake once more, like that. They again, if we so this sounds like a very rigid train of thought, and it is. Let's not commit fully to it, but let's note the ideas, and then we will work the concept around the actions of the characters. Sorry, yeah, I just spilled over with potentially horrible ideas just then, but I don't know. We'll find out. I like where that was going. So he will enter the Vigil HQ and absorb the power of the local lake, making him even stronger. Black Raven will then occupy the drained lake. Boom. There we go. So we have a chain of events. Now, what we need to do for this to work is what? Now, basically most of the pieces are in place here. But in the start of next session is not going to be this. The start of next session is going to be them in captivity, probably. Yeah, and I'm gonna showcase the elements of the elements of the city, as we talked about, then they will be set free, because it's not like that's what it's like. They're going to be set free. They're going to be allowed to do heroing, but there will be consequences based on what they do in that initial scene. We're gonna be throwing conditions at them, or adjusting labels, or making other consequences. And then what will happen after that? We will have time passing, I think. Time passing seems reasonable. Yeah, time will pass. And then we need to thought just hit me. This is another regret. Let's add this to the regrets. So, by extension of not being good at time management, last session we did not get the chance to introduce Vigil's sanctuary, because Vigil got a sanctuary, which is a lakeside building that used to be used by his order and is now instead given to him as a sanctuary. So maybe the natural transition from them being in captivity is a scene of him and his mother driving a pickup truck out to that place, and him being like, so you get off here now. And yeah, we will have scenes chain into each other, but I'm going to like use the back end of that to unveil the sanctuary. Unveil? I meant unveil. Note to self. Come on. There you go. Unveil sanctuary after detention scene. Not detention. Detention scene. And not high school detention either. Yeah, I think we will just take it on. I'm curious about this. So there are so many questions about like them being detained for let's say just 2 days. Let's just say it's 2 days. It might like it's not even like they're being detained. They're basically just being they're in like a hero infirmary / detention, and just them being absent for that time. Like, what would be the reaction of their parents? What would be their reaction to them having been away from school and now like, oh god, this is so good. Yeah, so we can inject mundane worries into this super worry, and just like, even though the scene is about the superhero aspect of them, and like about responsibility, about control, about power, about keeping people safe and so on. Even though it's about that, we can also use it to hammer on the teenage end of it and being like, now what? Like, you've been away for your job for 2 days. You have been away from your parents for 2 days. Like, what are you doing? Like, have you asked for a phone call to explain that you're on a surprise field trip? Like, what is up? I'm gonna have that like I'm gonna see about using that angle for that session. Oh god, I enjoy that. That is one of my favorite parts of this game, is the intersection between the masks, especially when that intersection is full of pitfalls, like it is for the Janus, but also for all the other characters. So good. Okay. I feel like that is it for now. Is there anything more we want to talk about for planning for next session? I guess we should make up 1 or 2 names. Like, we should make up some names to use in when they get detained, right? So like, they will be made familiar with an agent from Aegis. We'll add those to the NPCs, these characters, I think. So, who is this agent? We need to figure out a name. This is what's just like a basic name? Agent Johnson, Agent Jackson, Agent Spencer, Agent. Agent Wilson. Jeffrey Wilson. Agent Jeffrey Wilson of Aegis is going to be the guy they interact with. There will be other people, but we don't need to make an Aegis detention blocks worth of NPCs. They will be interacting with primarily a few people. So he will be the one handling the Aegis side of things. We need some more people from the exemplars. I feel like we need some of the older, right? Some of the not teen superheroes, some of the not new exemplars, but the like the old supers that are still active, like Bronze Generation and maybe a Silver Generation. Who is? Let's have a look at the notes here. There is something about the superhero teams of this era. Yeah, the Silver Generation super teams are the Exemplars, the Silver Saviors, and the Amazing Eight. The Silver Saviors were a superhero team based on the Silver Savior. So we don't want Silver Savior or his protege involved in the Exemplars. Maybe what's a good one? It's not Champion either, because Champion was like Gold Generation Superman thing, wasn't he? You have any ideas? What's actually, that's a good question. If you have any ideas, this is a thing we can actually interact with each other with. If you have any good ideas for like who are the local superheroes, or you have like good superhero or supervillain names, just names, feel free to throw them in the comments section, I guess, because I just write down what I think is funny, but mostly I make punny villain names. So if you have any ideas about that sort of stuff, like, feel free to leave them down there, and I will have a look at and maybe employ them in game. So thank you for that, if you would like to do so. But now back to the question at hand, which is, what is a let's make two names for present day exemplar. We can also use some already existing ones. The book had someone. I have them noted somewhere. Like, just heroes established that are mentioned in the book. And I might as well take those names and use them, right? Dr. Sheila Supreme. Soar. As in flying, not as in my wound is sore. Dr. Shield Supreme. Good. Let's actually make a note of this. Aegis there. Is presently an exemplar. Whoa. Okay. So is Saw. Not an exemplar. An exemplar. And creativity failure. It's horrible, isn't it? Just making up a name can't be that hard. Vanquish sounds like a villain name. The something color, something action. What's the name of the character from Supers? The Crimson Bolt. Maybe we take the Crimson Bolt. Oh, that would be fun. No. Okay, so let's How about the Brave Bolt? No, the Brave Bolt sounds like a silver. Sounds like a gold generation thing, doesn't it? I guess then again, if this is an existing one, then silver or gold generation is just perfect. Captain Courage. Captain Courage. Captain Courage. Presently an exemplar. Okay, and again, I wrote exemplar. God damn it. Okay, presently an exemplar. Could we have 3? That should be, like, we don't need to name anymore. There are more exemplars, but whenever they get interacted with, it will be with these 3. Good, now we know. That's wonderful. The last one is so bad. It is so bad. No. Let's save this. Okay, good. So, I think that's basically it for the preparation for next session. I think, like, any other stuff that needs to happen, we can wing. About that interaction with their family and so on. Seems somewhat obvious based on just what we know about the characters and their family relations. Yeah, I think that's it. So, for this session, I think that has been all. Yeah, it must have been. Let's call it now. I am unsure if I should be talking about other stuff, but nothing springs to mind, so I'm gonna call it here. Thank you very much for joining me for this session of this GM session of Masks: A New Generation. Looking forward to running this later this week. So with that said, that's it now, and we'll see each other in the next session or in the next GM session. Either way, bye.